Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Introducing myself, my name is Audy Hafida and I from Communication Science in University of Majalengka. And here I would like to deliver my material is a history of radio. Radio is a communication tools that radio wave. Initially, radio signal using continuous data such as through amplitude modulation or AM and frequency modulation or VM. The second wave passed through the air and even through the vacuum of space, which because of the all media doesn't require a method of transport such as air, and every person's cell phone and is easy to get. At the time, radio was used for military purpose. Only radio signal were used to tell information or get information using a password for either the military. However, over time, radio was used by local residents to search for information, and radio no longer use Morse code for local residents. It has been long enough to enter the territory of the Indonesian state until finally radio was very popular and booming. At this time, only the Dutch colonial era and the Japanese occupation, the residence of radio was very meaningful for the Indonesian nation and local residents to get information until the time the proclamation was pronounced by the first president of Indonesia, namely Engineer Sukarno, and the first vice president of Indonesia, Muhammad Hatta. The pronounced in Jakarta, and the information has spread widely in various regions, now including remote areas, and spread throughout in country. After it was used to get information about the proclamation of Indonesian independence, radio was very important for local residents. After the Japanese and Dutch colonial rule in Indonesia was over, the existence of radio not only obtaining information, but radio began to be used entertainment, whatever it was, music to be heard in a chat that invites jokes and laughter. And point 8, the Dutch colonial period. As already mentioned above, the history of radio in Indonesia began the Dutch colonial period. During this era, the Netherlands was confused about various measures. Even that sparkled the spirit of nation among the natives, namely the establishment of Budi Utomo in the Youth Pledge movement. Indonesian with the time was still called the Dutch as Indies, established its first radio broadcast on July 1925, called Batavia Radio Virgins or BRV in Batavia or Jakarta in the past. During the Dutch colonial period, radio stations operating were privately owned after the establishment of Batavia's Radio Vereniging or BRV. Various the other stations began to spread various regions, and one of them was the Netherlands in the south. Omroep Mij or Nirom radio station. Point B. Japanese colonial period. The Japanese colonial period in era in Indonesia lasted for about 3.5 years. All the time in government controlled all existing private broadcast radio. Various broadcast programs were directed to shape the greater Asian West propaganda. In this era, there were very significant changes related to broadcast material during in Japanese occupation. The sociocultural broadcast had the largest portion of broadcast material. This had a positive impact on the development of culture in Indonesia and gave birth to artists and songwriters. Augustus in point C, independence of period. Independence of period is very history day for Indonesia people because on the day that Japan surrendered unconditionally to the allied troops. The occupation was not wasted by youth at the West campaign and forced Bung Karno and Bung Hatta in immediately proclamation Indonesian independence. Bung Karno and Bung Hatta behalf of the Indonesian nation proclamation in independence of the Indonesian nation. At this time, radio broadcast is very important in disseminating the contents of the text of the proclamation to all Indonesian people and the world. Then, on September, radio leaders through Java held meeting in Jakarta to discuss radio organization. The day after that, on September, to be precise, radio leaders agreed and established and radio organization and make as Radio Republik Indonesia Day. After that, on January, radio conference was held in Surakarta, which was informed by situation of the state, especially the capital Jakarta, which made it impossible to run the government. The radio conference, which was attended by representative of 8 RRI studios, resulted in a decision that Radio Republik Indonesia had the status of a government service and was under the Ministry of Information and was required to carry out government politics. Every 11 September is celebration as National Radio Day. The same date is also commemorated as the birthday of Radio Republik Indonesia (RRI), which was founded on September. So it's not surprising that September is also often referred as RRI Day. And the last point, the information period until now. Before the Reformation Order was born, according to Indonesian communication system and journalistic system in Indonesia at the time, various radio journalism programs or radio journalism were carried out by Radio Republik Indonesia privately broadcast radio acts as a medium of entertainment by playing songs, radio plays, and other. In the reform area, radio also did escape from a shift a role. At first, radio was only concerned concerned with being a medium. And thank you very much for an attention. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.